Well, heck yeah, man. I sent the joining link to Zane. So, what's up, Zane? I will go ahead and look in my other phone, see what's up with you. Again, it's like kind of funny because I'm looking at you. I know you can't hear me, but you have a joining link to this production, so to speak, right? Shit, I didn't even look at my framing or self or what. Yeah, we got to make it look better than that. All right, here we go. I'm gonna hit up Zane, see if he's still live. Let him know to check his spam folder. Zane.
Indomitable spirit. It's a, it's a martial arts philosophy. It's an indomitable spirit. Your spirit cannot be dominated. Your spirit cannot be made to do anything that you don't want it to do. Indomitable spirit cannot be dominated. Not spiritual. And anybody that if you've never done any kind of like sports or martial arts or anything like that, I mean, sharpening your physical body is a great way of sharpening your mind. You know, I have 5 herniated discs in my back, so there's only so much I can do in the weight room. But
Yep. Yep.
One thing that I like to do, really like to do, is I like to go on long ass goddamn motherfucking walks, and sometimes.
Whoops, I lost him. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Need to get back to it. I'm
I'm
sorry.
just gonna check my email. So if I go away for a minute, I'll be right back.
So I'm just trying to encourage him to come up live. He'll go away for a minute. He'll come back. Whatever. We'll see if it happens. We'll see if it happens. And I'm still in here in case he needs any clarification. I'm on my last beer, but still in here. Cheers.
You're live. Okay, welcome to live. What did I do? Okay, I think I have to end this live to join JoEG's live. So I'm going to end this live, and if we have any technical difficulties, Joe, I will email you back. Bye-bye.
Righto. Yeah, he does have to end that live to come up. We'll see whether it happens. He'll email me if there's anything different. So let's go. What a fantastic treat. Hey, what's up, Zane?
Hey,
It's
it's
so
good to see you.
awesome that you could just show up here. What are we doing, man? This is the future here.
It really is. I just think technology is really cool. Back when we were kids, in the 90s, it's kind of like, all you really could do was write letters or call your friends on the phone. Now you can actually see their face and interact with them in a lot more of a personal way. So I definitely, yeah, technology is cool in the modern world.
Zane, I grew up outside of Washington, D.C., and, when I was a child, like 3 years old, you would get
Wow.
pamphlets of, send something to our organization with self addressed stamped envelope or whatever. So
Yeah,
I ended
yeah.
up on the mail and the phone in like 1983.
Hmm.
And, I've been compelled to fuck with that communication system. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's funny, bro.
Well, one of like my father was in Department of Defense, and one of
Okay.
his associates was a friend of mine. In 1987, we were on the bulletin board services. So we would like communicate with people. We would download salacious material. We would play weird tech games, and all that stuff. So I've always been interested in this, like, you can reach anybody. You know what I mean? Like, good or bad,
Mhm.
there's a stinger in. We're coming after you.
Yeah,
But
that's
all of
definitely
it's good.
cool.
The
Sorry.
progress is that we learn stuff as we cycle through these things.
Mhm. Yeah. Yeah, I think it's really cool that you had that experience on the internet way back then because the internet was not very big at that point. There was
It
only
was
like a few
nothing.
people who ever went on the internet back then. And back then, people would make fun of you if you were an internet nerd. As I
Right.
understand, I wasn't born back then, but
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's pretty
yeah, for
cool.
sure, for sure. Well, no, my father, he being in Department of Defense, obviously they had serious shit to do, like security, you know,
Mhm.
but they also brought all the new tech. So they brought touch screens and they brought the basic, 60s, late 60s, early 70s video games and stuff like that to them, you know. There's
Yeah.
two people in this world that tech is that important to at that time, it's either the US government, the intelligence companies, or the Mormons. They were the other people that were right into it because they needed, well, they speak of their tech, but they needed all these like computer data mining situations so that they could like baptize more souls because that's the only way to aggrandize their situation, on Adam and Eve's planet here.
That's really interesting. I did not know that Mormons were early adopters of the internet. I've been out west, and I noticed that that's kind of where they sort of mingle. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
it's a lot more Mormons out west than there are here in Florida.
Well, they are
Um,
everywhere, but I
yeah.
mean, I was in the cesspool because DC is where everything starts with all that. So I was in like every fucking tentacle that this thing could do, I could see. You know what I mean? So whether it was, I mean, again, it was usually just political stuff. That's why I said, but it even started before phone for me because it was like, right into la 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 at DC 20009, and we had to write in for a little pamphlet to come in and stuff like that. I
Oh.
just grew up with that. That's political activism, though. So it could be any direction. It's like watching a TED talk right now. You know, you're
Yeah.
not necessarily being educated. You might see the biggest piece of steaming propaganda you've ever seen in your life in the next 5 minutes. You have no idea.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah,
the WWW. It's
I had
wild.
a I had a teacher in college who introduced me to the TED Talks, and I've watched a couple of them. And you're right. It does seem like almost every speaker has some kind of agenda. You know.
And you can learn a lot because maybe they're a specialist. Maybe they've, categorized that, but maybe it's straight up propaganda. And then, that's why it's kind of neat on the internet because the hoaxers just walked their way right in there. Nobody checked. Nobody checked. They were like, "Oh, you got something to present? Do you have slides? If you got
Yeah.
slides, we got you. Take a half hour. I don't give a fuck what you do. It's shit entertainment. But at the same time, those companies that always were doing like, well, I don't really care for the quality of it. Let's just produce it. Like the Apex and the Harvey Weinstein companies and all these companies that they just put out anything. Well, then every once in a while, you got some great shit coming out.
Yeah.
If you
Yep.
don't care for fucking quality or taste, you know what
Yeah.
I mean? Every once in a while you hit something.
Yeah, I definitely agree that Ted is a little bit strange. I think what's really going on in society these days is that we used to be a TV society, and like every bit of information was disseminated by television
Sure.
and in movies and stuff. And what we're seeing is that less and less people are watching TV, watching movies, and it's kind of like social media is like the new, big network, you know what I mean?
Right.
And
But it's so stratified that you don't have a movement, right?
I
So
get what
back
you
in the
mean.
day, exactly what you're talking about, when people used to tune into the radio, they all got fed the same sort of stuff to learn to enjoy. Then they
Mhm.
pulled out the 45 singles and they're all listening to the same stuff for the next 2 weeks or whatever. And they
Yeah.
get into school and they get into, TV and then they get into college or like cable TV, and all these things are so small.
Mhm.
The You lose the power when you lose the grip of any group. It's so stratified. It's like whatever comes to me, maybe they'll watch. Well, then they don't join anything, and then the people that join something so specific, they get algorithmed into an echo chamber where it's like, I'm just going to go ahead and accentuate whatever it looks like your lean or your bent is.
I get what you mean. Like, it's kind of like, yeah, that echo chamber thing. Like, I was on Twitter for like 2 years, And
Right.
then, I noticed that literally every person that I would talk to seemed to be like a bot or, some bullshit. And when Twitter got bought out by, Elon and he changed the name to X, I got the message. He's trying to X out Twitter. So I
Right.
deleted it and I stopped going on it. And what I think is really cool is that, like 2 or 3 years ago before that happened, the news was just basically the Twitter news. It was like this person tweeted this person tweeted that. It's just lazy journalism. And now that Twitter has been X'd out, we're actually seeing some real journalism. But Twitter was yeah, it's an echo chamber. You only see people that have the same opinion as you. And the other thing is that Twitter mods and shit, the Twitter gods would fuck with me. Like they would like, my feed would. I didn't want anything pornographic on that feed. I don't mind sexually explicit material by anyone it on social media. And like every
Right.
time I get on Twitter, there would be, just like hardcore gay porn and shit. And I was just like, man, they're fucking
Well,
with me.
that's the part where, like, because I've never been on Twitter X or otherwise, like, you know, tweets before that were like so simple, right?
Yep.
And then before that, it was more like, remember, like they had that like short range like walkie talkie shit, which were chirps. So chirps became tweets that became Twitter that became X, you know, and the whole like guise of Twitter or something, or even Instagram, I guess, is like, oh, we're unfiltered. You can see boobs on our channel like you can anywhere in France on TV or whatever. But what
Yeah.
they've suppressed is like what you said. You're saying that, the Twitter gods or, the Twitter rods, either way, they're pushing you down for, whatever you were doing. Now, why, when they already are sharing content that you deem like unacceptable, which therefore should be cut? Maybe you
Yeah.
shouldn't be cut. Like, where is the idea? Where is that? Oh,
I
look, you got Ever Inferno in here. Hi, Ever Inferno. I've seen you around, but this means you got people from your channel coming in. You see, that's
yep.
beautiful, Zane.
I hope that leads to some cross pollination. You know what
Right,
I'm saying?
right.
I hope both
That's
of
what I'm
us end
saying.
up
Yeah,
growing.
that's what I'm saying. So yeah, but at least that's an obvious. We did this on the. I didn't call you ahead or email you ahead, and we did this in 2 seconds. And here's proof. Ever Inferno's in the house, so
Yeah.
it's
I
all
mean,
it's all good.
yeah. I actually I had a big following on YouTube on this channel, and I used to have a different name. I used to call first it was a psychic vampire because that was when I was first getting into vampirism. And then I
Okay.
changed the name to Satan Lucifer, which is like my spiritual name. And then I just changed the name to Zane's Tarot. But back when I was, going using the name Satan Lucifer, I had a huge following of people from
You have
all
pretty
over the world.
ubiquitous names in there. You know what I'm saying? When you're using a name like that,
Yeah,
because
just getting
I
like
identify very heavily with Lucifer and everything as bearer of light and part of my path. Part of my pantheon of leadership. Not personalized to me, right? Not
Mhm.
personified, but one of my pantheon, one of my focus points. What's up,
That's
Rusty?
cool.
And Rusty's in the nine. You were kicking the other nines out, but Rusty's in the Council of Nine.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I just I have problems sometimes with like young people coming on my channel, but that's really why I try to keep it as clean as possible because they're gonna come. You know
Yeah,
what I
they
mean?
will. They will.
Mhm.
Yeah, they will. But when you make like myself, right?
Mhm.
My responsibility is I put it. This is not for children or whatever, or this video is intended for adults. Now,
Mhm.
like my daughter, she was bugging us earlier today, and a friend of mine in the chat wanted to give her well wishes. He knew what was up. I had to take her to the hospital, or not the hospital, but to get checked out today in the doctor. He was following up with that. And he wanted to give her well wishes. I said, yeah, and then she wanted to come over and give him peace for that, so that we just got it all settled, but she's not old enough. And she has a channel, and sometimes she'll come over here and she'll want to do a show. And I'm like, you're just not 14, which is not old enough either. But it is what I'm saying when I say this is not for adults and they don't deem it as, antisocial, hurtful, or whatever. One time I was beating up my frozen meat, so that I could put it in a pot to cook, and they
Mm-hmm.
deemed that self abuse or something because I was beating myself up, beating up the fucking frozen meat. You see,
That's funny.
but that's the 18 level, not the 14 level. And I just say, straight up, when you're 14, when you're internet adult, we'll promote your channel. You know what I mean? Because that's what it is. It is what it is. Nobody's
Yeah,
ignorant around here, and the only way to survive this world is to know what you're looking at. Nobody's
yeah.
ignorant. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's a good attitude to have. Yeah, on my channel, I pretty much always just talk about like spiritual stuff, and people expect that since I'm a Satanist and whatnot, that like everything I talk about is like dark and evil and shit. I do talk a lot about like demons and whatnot, but I
Right.
also often we talk about angels, saints, God Himself. A lot of people when they join this path, they think that it means that they have to become an atheist, and I fell into that trap for a while. I was very mad at God, and it was a certain point where I just He spoke to me, like literally
Did
spoke to
you?
me,
Were
and
you in that 14 when you were mad at God? Were you in that period?
well, no, because I didn't leave Christianity until I was 29.
Okay.
And I was a devout Christian for maybe like 14, 15 years. Like from the time I was in middle school, maybe I'm counting wrong, but from the time I was in middle school to
No,
the time I was like
understood.
29.
So
Yeah.
like an early scholarly lad is about 12, and then 29, you're kind of developing your own path. Maybe you're in, monastery school or whatever because you really are devout or whatever. But somewhere it sounds like since you decided so late, cuz most people they have the indoctrination, the rules, they're so harsh on them that like at 16 or earlier they break away. They're like, I can't take all these restrictions. But what
Mm-hmm.
you're
Yeah.
talking about, and I'm not trying to jump levels ahead, but at that time period, that development stage in your life, maybe you feel like there's unfulfilled promises. It seemed like what I was working on, what I was devout about, what I expected is not coming through.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that was kind of part of it. Really like what drove me to, after I left Christianity to accept Satanism was I was introduced to Satanism by a person who I had a lot of love and respect for when I was in high school. And at the time, I couldn't handle it. But she showed me something that really changed me, which was she said, if you believe in God, then bring me a Bible. And I had one, so I gave it to her, and she flipped to Genesis, and she flipped to I don't know what the chapter and verse is, but it says, "Thou shalt not suffer a witch to live."
I
And she
remember that
said,
one.
she looked me right in the eye, and she said, "I am a witch. Your holy book says you're supposed to kill me. Are you going to kill me?" Now, obviously, I said no.
Right,
Obviously. But I
right.
wasn't ready back then to leave Christianity. But when I got older and I thought back to that, even before I left the church, it changed my perspective on things. Because I still love her dearly and I would never allow her to come to harm. And she showed me that, there's things in the Christian holy book that are not good and shouldn't be taken literally. And I was raised in a Southern Baptist church. And the
Mm.
Southern Baptist Church always said that every last single word and piece of punctuation in the Bible is supposed to be taken as 100% completely literally true and happened exactly the way it's described.
Yeah, yeah,
And
yeah. I think even in Latin that's called de puncta, like you said, like to the point.
yeah,
Every fucking sentence, every break is supposed
hmm
to be taken as literal to the word. Yeah.
yeah,
Most people don't do their Bible like that, by the way.
no,
You know what I
no.
mean?
Yeah, I've met
Yeah.
Christians who were fantastic people, and I'm gonna say all I learned in that church was about faith.
Yeah.
It was, and the preacher would always say, if anybody asked about like hell or the devil, he would always say, "Well, Jesus doesn't talk about hell," and he doesn't. If you look up in the Gospels, you'll see Jesus never once used the word hell. He used a euphemism to explain some things when he said the word Gehenna, which is it's like a it's like where the Hebrews would pile their trash and burn it outside of Jerusalem, and that was the word that he used to describe the inferno, but he never once said anything about anybody going to hell or anything like that. And
Yeah,
I carried that through my whole life. I value the
all the
lessons that I
religions of
learned
the world,
in
mainly whether they have an afterlife or not, like none of them have a hell. Basically,
hmm
none of them have a hell. Even
yeah.
like Hebrew, it's not. There's no Hebrew hell. It's not like
hmm
that.
I've
So none of these religions have a hell. Jesus, the character, exactly as you're speaking and exactly what he said. I mean, when they say Son of God, he didn't even say that so much as he said, I am of my Father, you are not. It was against the Sadducees and against the tax collectors. How much of the New Testament is against the tax collectors? I'm a happy taxpayer because I understand
yeah.
if you don't pay your neighbor enough to at least chew on the bones of this, he's coming to your house. You know what I mean? So when you come home from the hunt, you drop off something for the, indigent and everybody in the front of the fucking place before you try to bed down for the night. Because if you don't, they're coming for you. That's why I'm okay with tax. But that story, I mean, he was born on the road. Why? Because everybody had to go to their hometown for tax. He turned over the
Yeah.
table. Why? Because they were accepting religious tax. You know what I'm saying? Like, and why did they run away, the apostles and he? To get away from the world like that. It's a very anti-tax story. I'm not an anti-tax man, but I understand that Jesus and of his time, and that's pretty deep, bro.
Yeah, yeah. There's a lot of lessons that even a person that doesn't subscribe to Christianity can get from Christianity.
You better read
It
the
just
Bible. You better. All the like,
yeah,
my sons are, they're educated differently than I was, right? Because I was in classical education, Greek, Roman, fucking, Catholic, everything, right? All that. But they were educated differently. So what they would come back to me and say as an idiom or whatever, well, all the idioms are in the Bible, everything that people say day to day. So read that book because it's informed your culture, and
yeah,
you might as well be up to date on the manual of your culture. You
yeah,
might as well. But if you micromanage, like, okay, from her occultist point of view, she's going to micromanage the don't suffer or which to live, which I understand what that means. Did that have anything to do with the good person that you knew? No, it has to do with, but at the same time it's in there, you can't practice repetitive prayers and chants because they will, sort of throw you into a trance. But you have to do your rosary or do your, amen, amen, kneels up and knees up, and the things that Masons do. Like, they do crazy shit. They do like, hey, he drink it now and hit the ground. And, the shit like that. Yes, it mesmerizes you before the word, because obviously that was a man who existed way after the Bible. But the mesmerism, the enchantment is there, So the Bible is anti all of that, but at the same time, the society is well, we have to have some sort of flag to join under if we're going to protect the area. You understand? So
yeah. What you
these
mean?
people, if to understand your culture, please read the Bible. Everything's in there, everything's in there that informs your day to day.
Wow. Yeah, I actually used to give Bible study.
I
Um,
believe it. Yeah.
Yeah, I had two friends of mine. It was three for a little bit. I forget who the third one was, but one of my friends is gay, and she thought that Christianity was against her, and I showed her through the word that she was a-okay with her lifestyle, that God was not angry with her, that if she wanted to pursue girls to, be her romantic partners, and that was okay. And the other part, my other friend who would come to the Bible studies, he's I don't know how to say this. He's a little slow. He
Yeah.
had an injury that he got when he
I'm a
was
little slow too,
developing.
man. Trust me.
Yeah.
I
But I was
got
able to
moving feet.
yeah, but I was able to show him like, dude, you're not dumb, you're smart. You got all the tools in your tool belt in your mind to live your life as you see fit. And we did that for like 3 months, and we would do it twice a week for like
Right.
3 months, and, it was fun. Like, it forced me to read a lot of the Bible. Because I had to be able to field questions on things and be able to give, chapter and verse answers on things, so it forced me to really study a lot,
That's
and
really good too. That's really good because also that's a training tool. I mean, I'm not going to discount the fact that the Bible, the word means the book.
yeah,
You learn how to read that book, and then you learn how to reference by chapter and verse. You're actually getting an education just by doing that, right? I
I've
would
I've
love to
got
isolate, like, sort of, what sermon could you put forth to say, hey, woman on woman, I guarantee that the Bible is endorsing that. I would love to see that. You know what I mean? We don't have time to do that now, but I would love to see that. But I have to ask because you've separated from the faith with that, but you have your own faith that you've developed as a.
Satanist,
Oh,
demonologer.
okay, okay.
Yeah.
So, but I mean, does that mean that the lesson that you sent, the lesson that you taught, is that diminished now?
Not at all. I would say that, well, I'll back it up with this. When
Okay,
I left the church, was shortly after I actually had an experience where Jesus himself appeared to me on the cross, and the guy that was guiding me through the prayer that got Jesus to appear to me, he said, "This is magic, Zane. This is earth magic."
right.
And after it was over,
He
we
wasn't
were still
Adam though. He wasn't
yeah,
Adam. I mean, just for our Mormon friends, I was just trying to.
you're good. But yeah, afterwards, the guy who had led me through the prayer told me in no uncertain terms, he said, "This religion has brought you as far as it can go. You need something new." He even said, and I'm not kidding, these were his words, "You should
Okay,
try out Satanism." And I'm sitting there like, "Well, you're a Christian? You're telling me to do this?" "I'm not a
not
Christian.
just a
I'm just
Christian.
religious." Yeah.
No, you said the Christ.
It was him. It was
Yeah,
him.
but I'm saying he wasn't just a Christian. Yeah.
He
Okay.
was he was a magic practitioner, and
So
he knew that the spirit that I needed to have appear to me was Jesus.
what it wasn't, well, but yeah, but also the it sounds like the education you needed to pursue was not diverse enough yet, according to that
I would
talk.
agree with that. Yeah,
Yeah.
because the Southern Baptist Convention, as their official position, is that there are no angels, there are no saints, there are no other spirits other than just God, Jesus, and the Holy Spirit.
Three of
And
one. They're trying. Yeah.
yeah, and when I after that,
Where's the female? Where's the female? If I would ask them that first. Where's the female?
yeah, yeah, but after
They could
after that
tell me,
happened,
but I would have
sorry,
to ask them that first. Where's the female? The female doesn't exist.
that's a good question. I do know that spirits have the ability to swap between male and female. Demons are
Okay.
actually usually very androgynous.
But what do
Um,
you think that if they were speaking of the Holy Trilogy or Holy Trinity,
yeah.
do you think they would say as easily as you did, Well, Jesus is sometimes kind of femme. They couldn't do that. You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah, yeah, it
So
doesn't
where's the
jive
female
with
in that triangle? Where's the female?
yeah.
They're
Yeah,
not
I
even mentioning, like Sacred Mother, right? Like the one that, of no sin, she gave birth to the child of Father, who is obviously God, Father. But
mhm.
somebody gave birth to child of Father. She didn't do it through any salacious act. She was a virgin birth, whatever, whatever way it plays out in your thing, it's Mother Earth being pregnant again, and gestating that through the winter and birthing that in the spring, for just him to come out in the summer, as the man and burn himself out and die again.
Mm, mm.
That's
No,
basically the cycle of life, you know.
I get what you mean. Yeah, it's kind of like to me, I think it's a little bit funny that the is just into this monotheism thing, and they won't acknowledge any other gods or spirits other than just
Or
God and
even
Jesus and the Holy
aspects.
Spirit. But
Even aspects.
that's a pantheon.
In
Yeah,
Hinduism, when you have the Brahmin, three faces this way, three faces this way, female and male, it doesn't mean that there's less than one God. It means there's aspects.
yeah.
They can't
Actually,
even acknowledge that. But
that's
when they
interesting.
do, it's Father man, Son man, Holy Spirit man. That's as far as they can go. And we know that's not right.
Hmm.
We
Yeah.
know that's not right. We could not survive on that.
Yeah. For whatever reason, I'm having some spirit talk in my head, and they're asking me to talk about a story from the Bible. It's actually in the Gospels, and it regards, the Virgin Mary and Joseph.
Ooh, ooh,
And,
ooh.
in those times, should if those times ever existed, but in those times, if a woman became pregnant outside of wedlock, she would get stoned.
Mm,
And Mary started to show, and Joseph and Mary were not married yet, and they were basically picking up the stones to stone her.
mm,
And an angel of the Lord appeared to Joseph and said, "Dude, you got to man up and save your wife." So he did. He made the choice to defy his culture and stand up for someone who could not stand up for themselves. And to me, that's heroism. That's as every bit as heroic as anything else has ever happened, from Superman on down to the first responders on down to like me. You know what I mean? And in Satanism, we have a concept called uncommon heroism. So sometimes it's called common heroism. And
mm,
basically, it's you use the devil as a model, an example, and when things happen, the devil rebels. He doesn't just let shit happen that he doesn't like. When he's got problems, he works against them. When there's injustice in the world,
What
he
about
gets
that?
up.
Yeah, when you
Yeah,
say that and you state it as a satanic principle, what I understand is, uncommon heroism from Lucifer would be standing up for the people that don't have a voice, standing up
correct.
for the oppressed.
That is
That's what it sounds
100%
like to
correct.
me. There's not a spirit telling me that, but just listening to what you're saying. But I'm glad that there's a spirit telling you that. You know what I mean? You have to
Yeah,
stay tuned into that. But
yeah,
I mean, I completely understand that because an uncommon heroism would be defending the injustice against the voiceless.
yeah.
Because the aristocracy, the Sadducees, the Sadducees, whatever, they don't care about that person. They don't care about the people that can't give that 5% coin back, which was
Mm,
part of Jesus's journey, the whole that was the whole thing, we are the keepers of the truth, the sophists, the Sadducees, we're the keepers of the truth. You owe us, come back and give us. And he did not say I'm the son of God. He said I am of my father. He said
mhm,
I accuse you of not being. I accuse
Hmm.
you of being, you know, basically a shell corporation that's profiting on these um, restrictions, you know. And then Catholics got it later when they did like, you know, you had to buy people out of what do you call it, the middle ground? I
Like
forget now.
purgatory.
Yeah, you had to buy them out with the, you know, you had to pay and buy them out, you know. So the same thing happened
Indulgences.
again, but it's the
Yeah.
same thing that he was throwing the tables up about. You know what I'm saying? Like it was the same.
Yes. Yes. What you actually the word for what you're referring to is called indulgences. And
Indulgence.
in the early Catholic Church, back when the Catholic Church ruled everything, they would offer indulgences, and basically it was either to get your loved ones who have passed on out of purgatory, or it gave you a free pass to do something that the Catholic Church said was sinful.
I
And
can do
that's
one
really
of the mortal sins now because I paid 30,000 or whatever, you know. But again, like because you want to release those souls, that kind of, like I said, it comes back to the Mormons who want to just build their ranks. That's why they need to like baptize souls that have already passed and stuff like that. They need to get that currency with God,
yeah,
which is
yeah,
insane because
yeah.
we understand as any earthly person that really understands, abundance is here. It's a flat line. Whatever resources are on earth, they're here. Walmart
Mhm.
takes theirs, and these people take theirs, and these people try to charge more for it or whatever. But at the end of the day, it's just right here. And
Yeah.
the worst part is you don't worry about it until you start keeping it. Because when you
Mhm.
start keeping it, I got a backlog of stuff. I'm so glad I have this stuff. I might lose this stuff. Those guys might come take my stuff. And then they go nuts. That's when they go nuts. And that's where all the riches of the world are probably under the Vatican or whatever.
Yeah,
Probably.
the Vatican has been described to me by spirits as, they said, and I quote, "It is a Luciferian paradise."
Mm.
I've also spoken to people who have told me that every Jesuit pope and our current pope, well, I'm not Catholic, but the current pope is a Jesuit. They said every Jesuit pope that's ever been was married in secret. I've spoken to spirits that have said that, the Vatican's not really a place where they keep all kinds of secrets or anything. They have records of shit that happened.
And
But,
gold. Gold. But they also
sorry.
keep rule. They're a
Yeah.
sovereign state. They're a sovereign state. They're not going to
Yeah.
lose their rule.
No, no. But I mean, in the Vatican, if you fuck off, you'll get the ever loving shit kicked out of you by the Swiss guards. They'll beat the shit out of you with them halberds if you fuck off. So, and everywhere's got to have police. It's just that's what they do in the Vatican, but they've never had to do it. Nobody's ever been so stupid as to come into Vatican City and raise enough hell that the Swiss guard comes and kicks the shit out of you. But that's what they do. I mean, as you know, they're trained with them halberds. They know what to do with them halberds. So the halberd is that big long fucking axe spear thing that the Swiss guards carry around in the
Yeah, they
Vatican.
just like stand it up above them, right? They stand it up
Yeah,
above them until,
very long, very tall.
yeah, don't
It was
try
the
me, basically. Yeah.
yeah, it
Yeah.
was the sniper rifle of its day. You could hit somebody from way far off with it.
Right, right,
Yeah.
right.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, I'm just to me like the internet has kind of been a breeding ground for a lot of conspiracy theories, and
Okay.
I just don't buy into it, but at the same time there is mystery in the world and it's worth uncovering. I don't want to
Yeah,
say that.
yeah. It's a full time endeavor to try to educate yourself on that. I
Yeah.
went to a Jesuit school. I joined D Malay. You know, I've
Mm,
been in the sides of these things. You know what I mean?
mhm. So
They're
you
definitely special people.
yeah.
Um, I mean, in some way, like socially and culturally. I mean, if it's too insensitive, I'm sorry, but most Jesuits are either like jocks or homos. Like, like I mean, they are. You know what I mean? They're the tightest group. They're completely intellectually, tuned in. They're not the type like the Catholic priest that's going to do something outside of canon or whatever. I mean, it's seriously, they're not coming after your wives or anything like that. They're
Yeah.
academics. They're academics. But the reason that, like I'm saying, like they can get away with that is because that's their devotion. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? There's nothing, they don't lose anything. They have a great fucking time, by the way. They drink, they read books, they talk about it, they fight, they play basketball, they have a great time. And even like I said, even if they're homoerotic or whatever, it's not even like they act on it. It's not about that. It's not about predatory behavior or anything like that. It's about that's how different they are from the world, that they can take that time to do the ivory tower research and just do the thing.
So
They're
you were
happy.
raised Catholic?
Well, not really. I mean, well, very interesting. Um, yeah, man, my favorite part was my baptism,
Hmm.
because I did not get baptized until my neighbor was born, and they baptized us together.
Oh, that's cool.
So
Okay.
I had my like before time, you know,
Hmm.
and then our baptism was together. It wasn't like my show or his show. It was our show. And he was a Guyanese. He was black. I was white. We lived next door. We were dressed together in the water. And then we went on our paths. And did they try to raise me Catholic? I don't know how they could. My father had like a very superstitious, you know, um, almost, well, because his mother was like straight up like Southern Italian or whatever, but he had a very superstitious attachment to the apostles.
Hmm.
He's still alive, but he had that. My mother was like, German Appalachian, more raised more. Most of them are Methodist, but her mother loved Catholics and kind of half-heartedly converted just because she thought they were cool. You
Yeah.
know what I
Yeah.
mean? But if I lived up in my mom's area, I would be going to their church, the Methodist
Hmm.
church. I
Okay.
wouldn't have
Okay.
dropped out or whatever. I would just do what was socially smart. So I
Yeah.
had a big like pull on those sides, like because
Yeah.
they weren't anything like each other. And my whole thing was just my own assessment of the book
Hmm.
as compared to any other book, and just how okay. So how what I was saying is you can use the biblical justification for your gay female friend, and
Yeah.
how that doesn't fall out. Now, just because you separated from that ideology, you can still use those same tools to
Exactly.
explain that.
Yeah.
So
There's actually there's
at
a
any
group.
time, I grew up with
Sorry.
the classical, Greek and Roman mythology. Nope, they're kind of funny. The Catholics, they say, here's our canon, here's the Greeks, here's the Romans and their mythology, and all of them are just like just lifestyle stories. You better learn how to behave properly in this world. And I never saw them as any different. So I was just like, whether Gutenberg's press ran the Bible first and Alice in Wonderland third, they're both books that teach through story. I didn't have any separation in that. I didn't have any special because I didn't have my father's sort of more what do you want to call it, like superstitious
Superstition.
side, where if I don't do this, I'm going to get struck down. I never felt that. I was like, trouble all the time. You're in trouble. You're going to be in trouble. Where is it? Let's go. I was trying to find trouble. They never
Well, looking for
brought me there.
trouble.
They said you're going to be in trouble, and I never fucking found it.
Yeah.
So
Seems
that
like
was my
you.
thing. Like I never bought it. I don't buy it.
Yeah. It's interesting that we brought up Catholicism. Have you ever heard of folk Catholicism?
Not really. Not really.
Okay, so it's a thing that kind of sprouted up in Mexico around the veneration of their version of the Grim Reaper, who's known as Santa Muerte, and she is known as a folk saint. Yeah, there you go. She's a folk saint. And it's cool because it's kind of like Catholicism, but at the same time, it's kind of like paganism because you build an altar to Santa Muerte, you give her offerings, and she helps you with your
So I'm
life.
completely lying because I grew up with folk Catholic, Salvadorians, Mexicans, everything like that. So I'm just because I didn't hear it named like that, I didn't mean to lie. But when you say, did you hear of folk Catholicism? Not specifically, but yeah, yeah.
Don't
So
worry,
the
I would never
veneration
accuse
of
you.
saints like Santa Muerte,
Yeah.
Actually, I have a tarot deck of Santa Muerte, but I'm not supposed to touch it because it's my wife's. But anyway,
Interesting.
we yeah, I grew up with that. The Catholic so more of what I grew up with was more, let's say, Santeria and stuff like that, where those Catholic deities would be used in the Afro-Caribbean tradition of veneration, where they took the orishas from Africa and they put them on the Catholic gods, or bodega, or I'm so used to that, actually. I'm very, very used to that.
Well, that's
But
awesome, dude.
just because I didn't hear of it as folk Catholicism.
That's not a big deal. Yeah, and trust me, I would never accuse you of being untruthful. It's not a big deal to me. You just didn't know. But I just think that, well, I'll tell a little story. Is like after I left the church, the very first thing that I wanted to do was practice idolatry, and
Yeah,
that's actually directly breaking the first commandment. And first, everybody thinks "Thou shalt not kill" is the first commandment. It's not. It's the sixth commandment.
it's
The
I am the
first.
Lord your God. Thou shalt have no other gods beside me.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Yep. You know what's
Yeah,
interesting when you're
Catholics have
talking?
never done that. Catholics have a whole pantheon of, you said, angels, demons, whatever. But it's like, everything they do is like, yo, I'm gonna call Saint Anthony, yo, I'm gonna call Saint Regia, everything they do. And that's witchcraft. Because you have different focuses, for every sort of what's the honor of the day? What's the color? You have to
Mhm.
call the different entities. And I would argue, like, if you really want to call Judaism monotheism, why are there so many fucking names? Why do you
Yeah.
have to call, Jehovah, Elohim, Adonai? Why do you have to call everybody then? It doesn't, it's not monotheism. You understand? Like, no, you naming aspects, as I said with the Brahmin, who's just a half male, half female character. And that's where I come back to the fact that, they're not legitimately addressing even a female aspect when they say the Trinity. You see,
Mm-hmm.
not
Yeah.
legitimate.
I like the way you think about that because there's just like a balance sort of that everybody strikes between their identity and their subconscious. It's like the inner woman in a man or the inner man in a woman. You know what
There
I'm
you
saying?
go.
And,
I'll do it with some colloquialisms, right? It's like, as the book says, wherever two or you are gathered, there am I. And also in popular culture, you and me and the devil makes three.
from Oh Brother Where Art Thou? What a great movie. What a great soundtrack. Oh my god.
Oh hell
You know
yeah, yeah, yeah,
what's funny is there's more Northerners that are featured on that soundtrack than Southerners.
yeah, yeah,
Yep.
yeah.
Dan
I wouldn't know.
Kaminsky.
Jimmy, my drummer Jimmy, would know all the source material because he's a bluegrass guy.
Oh, that's
I don't know
cool.
all the source material, but I do know like some of my favorite ones, like the Big Rock Candy Mountain.
Yeah.
Never
I used to play
change
that
your
on
socks, and the little streams of alcohol come
Home
trickling
Trick
down the rocks.
on the Rocks. Yep. I
Build
used
the
to play
burn
that
from
song
the
outside of a
bees and the
gas
cigarette
station.
trees. I love that shit, man. That shit's
Yeah.
awesome. Hobo's
That's great, man. Yeah.
Paradise.
Yeah,
Wow.
there's a lot of simple joys in life that people just miss. Music, sex, it's whatever. There's a lot of simple joys in life, you
True.
know.
True. True, man.
Music
And I
is
think
probably
I
my
think you can
favorite.
buy a lot of time in life by being of good humor and enjoying small things. I think you live a lot of years longer, than your doctor thinks. Just
Yeah,
be
and
of good humor, enjoy things.
Yeah, I definitely appreciate like the attitude that you have where you're like open to new things and you're not like you didn't put yourself in a box, you know what I mean? Like you got out of the box, you tried some things that might have scared you a little bit. I mean, it's pretty scary talking to an out and out Satanist if you're not a Satanist, or a demonologer. I mean, I
Who
do
says
both
I'm
of
not a
those.
Satanist? You know,
And that's
who says I'm
okay.
not?
Um, there's there's actually this famous video on YouTube. It was an interview that was done with the late great Anton LaVey, and he said if there's Christians out there and they're good Christians and they enjoy Christianity and it's working for them, then I'm all for that. But if there's people out there that have tried it and it doesn't work for them, then I would encourage them to flip over the coin and see what's on the other side.
Right
You
on.
know. Yeah.
Yep.
So, and then the other thing is, the Church of Satan, says that it is not right.
Right. Oh shit! Did you get hung up?
I'm back.
Okay, cool. Yeah, yeah.
But yeah, Satanists and the Church of Satan aren't supposed to proselytize. And it's also interesting that you brought up people reading the Bible who aren't Christians because there's actually a big group on Facebook called Atheists Read the Bible. And then there's also the fact that our high priest of the Church of Satan, what's his name? Peter H.
Peter
Gilmore,
Gilmore.
he's read the entire Bible, every last book, all 66 books in 5 different translations.
Mm.
He's very knowledgeable on that book. And there's stories in there that whoever you are, it can help you, you know.
Yeah. Well, no, it definitely it informs the culture that you're in. Now that I'm coming off your phone or something, I'm bouncing back.
Oh,
When
what do I need to do?
after you froze, I don't know,
You're
my
echoing.
voice is flashing back.
I don't know how to. Oh, I can refresh it.
Try that. Yeah, yeah.
Oh, that's not refresh. That's just
That's
change
the
the
other
camera.
screen.
Let me see if I can refresh it this way. This happens to me when I have phone conversations all the time. People get an echo through my phone. I
Well,
don't know
no,
what
it's
else.
not you, it's me. So it means
Oh,
that
okay.
I'm in volume in your room or something, I think.
Okay. Let me turn the volume down a little bit then. Can you still hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Are you hearing yourself?
I'm still bouncing back. Actually, what you need to do, just drop down and come back up. It'll work.
Okay.
Yeah,
How do I
it'll
do
work.
that? So you
Say
made
leave
it.
the stage or whatever it
Okay.
says. Leave the stage and come back.
Okay, I'll be right back.
All right, cool. All right, here we go. Add you back. Hello, hello.
Hey, are you still echoing?
Well, you're fine, so let me hear me. Hold on. Nope, I'm good.
Okay, wonderful.
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can. I turned the volume down just a little bit, but it's dead silent in here. It's not gonna be a big deal.
Right, right. The only way
Yeah.
I can even do this is because I have my thick ass books behind me. Otherwise, my neighbors would be screaming and crying. You
Yeah.
know.
Yeah, my roommates sleep like stones, so I do this all night, every night, and they never complain.
Oh yeah, you stream all the time.
All the time. It's my favorite thing to do. I started off just doing free tarot readings, and then as I gained skill as a psychic, I started to dabble in a few other different kinds of reading. I'm very gifted with the pendulum. It's probably my most important gift is the pendulum, and then also I do. A scry is like you pull in energy into your third eye and then you close your eyes, and sometimes things appear to you or whatever, but so you just kind of make sense of like what you can see behind your eyelids, and there's a lot of training that goes into interpreting scries. But then I'm
That's
also
true. That's true.
claircognizant.
But I
Hmm?
did. That's actually what I was getting at when you were talking about interpreting through the lens of the Bible. You know
Hmm.
that person's orientation or whatever. I was taking that as scrying to
Yeah.
myself because you can do it from that tradition, another tradition. You could do it from, the archangels. You can do it from, so many, or the cards, so many different sources. But scrying, peering into and interpreting what is live. Like, why is that aberrant? Like, what's going on here that we need to see? Because a couple of different types of scrying that I like are like, the take a black globe and or take a glass globe and clean, cover the inside in black and look at it and see what comes back, or do the two candles in front of a scuffed mirror, that type of scrying, But
Yeah.
scrying from any source material, that's where you get like rolling the bones, or using like some sort of a cartomancy, right? Because you're just looking at the cards that somebody would normally play in a typical poker game or something, but you're looking at them through the lens of now.
Yeah.
What is that saying? Why did the king of clubs come up right now? You know what I mean?
Mhm.
Like, how does that apply to what I'm looking at right now? And then you have to have inspiration, which is a daemon. It's a demon. You know what I mean? Like, inspiration is a demon that's informing you to what's going on right now.
Yeah. It's
So I have
interesting that you
no,
use the word daemon.
yeah, yeah, because that's the word for inspiration.
Oh, I didn't know that. I've that word
It's
has a
Greek.
number of meanings, and one of the meanings that I've heard is replete with wisdom. Another meaning of the word demon or daemon is go between the self and the gods. And another very important translation of that word is divine intelligence. Um, when I first became a Satanist, I was only just focused on and as follows the path of Lucifer. But then I was opened up to demonolatry, which there's demonology, which is like the study of demons, but that's always gained towards like casting them out and resisting them. But demonology is the worship of demons.
Mm.
And I got into that
Like,
by conjuring
as in
Beelzebub.
idolatry, for people
Yeah.
that aren't that up to date, but as in idolatry.
Hmm.
So it's not the cataloging of, you know the precepts of hell. It's the, kind of the veneration that you were talking about of Santa Muerte. There's
Hmm.
different ways. People could be subject to, or people could be in veneration of Santa Muerte.
Yeah.
So maybe they see that as a threat, or maybe they see that as something that they can make offerings to and throw worship at.
Yeah.
Idolatry, like you said, like the demonolatry, rather than demonology, which is the log, which means they're just keeping record of the demons, basically in rank. And basically, that's in the Satanic Bible as well, where you go from, um, Satan, Lucifer, Astaroth, Abaddon, go down the list, and you got them in ranks, which is the same as the archangels.
You should check out, if you haven't already, channel called Crash Course, and they do educational videos on a number of subjects, and they did a whole video series on mythology. And what the takeaway for me was that any they this in the videos is that every culture seems to have the same gods. It's almost like it's just one pantheon, but each god shows himself
It's
in a different way. And you can
right,
see
like
that
comparative
in the
religion, like
similarities
comparative
between the Roman
religion.
pantheon and the Greek pantheon, but
It's
each god is
comparative
a little
religion,
bit
yeah.
different in each pantheon.
Yeah, that's like comparative religion. Yeah, that's really good. Yeah, because of the parallels that are in.
It's crazy how many parallels you can find between different religions and different faiths and different styles of veneration. But I definitely think you got a good mind for what I'm talking about when you use the word veneration.
Yeah.
I feel like that was the word
Well,
that
that
was stuck in my head for the longest time. I just wanted to build an altar and venerate a god, and
yeah.
I was happy to do it.
Well, yeah, my more chaos magic approach is, rather than venerating, I will gather up and imbue some sort
Mhm.
of love and spirit into all of these things. You know what I mean? Like I'm building a pantheon of, respect and veneration around, So as in a Pelo Mayombe, I'm very Pelo Mayombe actually. I'm not gonna throw like a bunch of blood over on the floor because I'll have maggots in 2 days. But I'm very Pelo Mayombe, where I mean like I give my worship and my love to those objects and those representations. Those, like I said, when you talk about Afro Caribbean, the orishas that they put
Hmm.
on Catholic saints, the fact that I knew Catholics that were complete witchcraft practitioners because everybody had their own season, time, and purpose. They put them in
Yeah.
categories. That's
Yeah.
what and witchcraft and Wiccan is to bend. You bend energies. You can put energies in things. That's why I say imbue. That's what I
Hmm.
do. You know what I mean? I just build that. I build that. I wait for you. This is your purpose. Come to me when you need to. This is your purpose. I have a portrait over there. It's
Hmm.
cried 3 times, but it's only cried 3 times. But
Wow.
there's no way around it. It just
Mm.
You know what I mean? There's no way around it. There's no water source. There's nothing that happened. It
Yeah.
just cried 3 times when different things happen.
Wow.
But it's
That's
that
that's pretty powerful.
venerated in this house. It's that respected in this house that it has its right to speak to us.
That's pretty deep, bro. It's pretty spiritual, I would say.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
man. One time I fell down my grand objects that you were talking about too. Same when you're building an altar. One time
Hmm.
I fell down my grandmother's she had like a mountain, like or kind of or a hill or what, or a knob. They call it a
Yeah.
knob. You know what I'm saying? It's just a knob. I was polishing the top. I fell down, and, and when I picked myself up, I picked up a rock that was under my ass, and it was Africa. It was shaped
Oh,
like Africa. So I took
okay.
it home and I put it on a broken record player and I just like put it in the center, and I started building that, altar around it. But it just hit me. It was like, don't leave that. That's something of yours. And it was shaped like Africa to tell me, you know what I mean? It was just showing me.
That's
So
pretty powerful, man. I think that's pretty cool because I know that Santeria is very venerating of Africa, especially also Rastas. Rastas are very reverential when it comes to the continent of Africa, and the anthropologists will tell you that the human race started in Africa. It's called the Out of Africa movement. I told that
yeah,
to a racist one time, and he did not believe me. But
right.
it still worked for
He doesn't know
his
Marcus
understanding.
Garvey, bro. He doesn't know Marcus Garvey. He doesn't know that shit. I know that
Yeah,
shit. And like as you speak of the Rastas, my wife she works with an Ethiopian from top tribe, Haile Selassie, like all that, So yeah, we're deep into it, man. We're deep into it. And then like it's funny that you mentioned the COS because yeah, we got shit from the COS family everywhere. Like we got
that's
shit
great,
from
man.
the LeVays everywhere.
Yeah, I definitely Church of Satan. I'm not a member.
Right.
I am a member of the Satanic Temple.
Yeah.
But they are very different.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, yeah. Lucian, no?
Yeah, he's a good guy.
Mm-hmm.
He really knows his American history. He knows his American law. I believe he was educated at Harvard. And Lucian Greaves is a legend to me for the way he stepped up and protect the rights of people to have religious freedom. Because a lot of people don't know this, but the very first line of the Bill of Rights, the very first line of the First Amendment, everybody knows about it as protecting freedom of speech. But the first line in the First Amendment is Congress shall make no law respecting any establishment of religion or prohibiting the free practice thereof. And
Yeah.
that is where all of our religious freedom in America comes from. Lucian knows that, and he's fighting against the dominant Christian privilege in this country where people are trying to turn us into a Christian nation, and we're not. And if you look at the Constitution, you'll
I
see
wish
that.
I wish they were trying to turn you into a Christian nation. No, 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 no. They use Christian talking points to turn you into a political drone. It's
I agree
nothing to
with
do with the actual love of children. They always love children.
that. Yeah,
Bullshit. Bullshit.
it's like a
You know what I'm saying? Like, he's, I mean, like, I understand that, that temple is completely atheistic. I'm not atheistic, you know what I
yeah,
mean? But of course they needed to do what they're doing, and they need to continue to do what they're doing. But
yeah. I see them as heroes.
it's also interesting that you brought out the first part of the Constitution, the first part of the, Ten Commandments. That, as in that's weighted the top weighted.
Actually,
Congress
that
shall
is
make no
something that I
law,
learned in
or
church.
Congress, because they had those weird S's. Congress
Yeah,
shall make no law respecting any establishment of religion or what practice thereof, something
bridging
like
the
that.
free practice thereof.
Yeah, the free practice thereof. There you go.
Yeah. Oh, what was I gonna say? I had something important to say. What the fuck was
Oh, I'm
it?
sorry. I'm sorry.
Oh, right, right, right. Outwardly, the TST has the position that they're a non-theistic religion and they don't believe in anything supernatural. But that is a corralling tool. Corralling happens all the time. You got to get the right people to get society to work right. And those things that the ups do are called corralling, and you get corralled. You get corralled. Sometimes you get corralled with the douchebags if you're a douchebag, but if you're a nice person, you get corralled with people. But there's a lot of corralling that happens in this world, and that atheism is a corralling tool. Is basically, I was an atheist for a while. I don't remember exactly how long, but I had another experience with God that I couldn't deny him more. And
Oh, wow,
it's
that's a good point. That's a good point. Yeah.
yeah. So outwardly, both churches say that they practice atheism, but in the church, in behind closed doors, there is spiritualism. You know, and the atheism is just a corralling tool, and God's not mad at you if you an atheist and then come back to him. You know what I mean? Like he knew you were going to do it because he knows everything. He knows past, present, future. He's existed throughout all time and he'll
Well,
exist throughout all time and he knows
oh, and
everything.
by the way, like, because I've learned this in life, you can't insult me anymore. Like, if I was God, it's like when I've had people like, "Hey, man, they're talking shit about me. They're talking shit about my whatever that they released on Spotify," and I'm
Mhm.
like, what if you were Justin Bieber? You're gonna have a tsunami of hate, but a bunch
Yeah.
of success. So God's above like worrying about them criticisms. You know what I
Exactly.
mean? Like, and
Yeah.
I've felt it myself. That's why I know it.
Yeah.
Because you get over it. You get
Yeah.
over it. That's the only reason we can talk like this. And I'm not like shy or anything like that. I never met you before, but I'm willing to share the floor or whatever. What are you gonna do?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I mean, again, I like your attitude, that you're open to this kind of thing. Really shows maturity. You know what I mean? To be able to talk to somebody who has like an adversarial kind of belief system and hear me out and actually put to practice some of the things. Maybe I don't know if you will, but you know, mindedness on your
No, but I
channel
but
is
I am
definitely
a Satanist. Actually, I'm a Satanist, but I believe that we live in a Taoist world. I take a
okay.
satanic approach to a Taoist world. I mean,
Okay.
look, I'm a Satanist. This is Liber Oz right there, my tattoo.
Oh,
you
that's
know,
cool. It's fun.
My
I
sons
actually
are
have
Anton and Alistair. Yeah, 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 yeah,
that's a demonic sigil.
yeah. I see it. Yeah, who is it? 1010.
Bartzabel.
Mm.
Yeah.
Barthabel is what? What does that rule over? Principalities.
So Bartzabel is the original demon, and she was created. She's actually a she, although when she shows herself to you in spirit form, she appears to be a guy. But like I said, all very androgynous in their spirit form. So
And I'm telling you, and you know what? They did that too, right? The Satanic Temple, they did
mhm,
that too by doing the Baphomet, by whatever you want to call it, by gender,
yeah.
right?
Well,
And they did
the
that, and they used it as an installation. The Levi, Elias one is also by gender, whatever. But
yes.
what I said to you is, how do and we just back then, I said, like, how do they justify that? Because when they speak of the Trinity, I mean, if they spoke about it realistically, and they would be like, there are feminine aspects of, there are, but they won't. They don't do that. It's Father, Son, and Holy Spirit. All of them are guys.
Yeah.
None of that makes any
Um,
sense. So I appreciate that you have a female that presents as male, because somehow the dichotomy must exist. You know,
yeah, I
the
get
magic
what you mean.
creation is a mix. It's a mix.
Yeah, it's like the dominant Christian privilege in the country is kind of like very focused on male energy. And I get what you mean. Like you kind of want some of that female energy in your spiritual practice. I mean, we're guys, we like girls, you know what I mean? And that's that shows you're open minded, but also shows you're a good American. You know what I mean? You believe in equality, you know, and that's good.
Well, I'm a Marylander, man. I didn't sign any compacts with America, but I was born in Maryland, and I'm happy to be there. I'm in
Yeah,
Virginia, but I was happy to be from there.
I love
And
this country.
I'm not going to any country anytime soon. And if I do, it's probably an escape plan. I'm never coming back. I'm never
Yeah,
coming back.
I
I'm either
mean,
gonna be I'm either gonna be running a fucking convenience store down in Mexico, or I'm gonna be hiding out in Canada or something, whatever. But I'm probably
yeah,
never leaving, because you
yeah.
can't take your phone. If you leave with your phone right now, you cross a border, I guarantee they'll lock you up for something. I
Really?
guarantee it.
Wow, that's
I
gnar.
guarantee it, man.
Yeah, it's people are apprehensive about what's about to happen with this second term with Trump, and
I'm
there's
not.
just
I'm
sorry.
not. I'm
Yeah,
I'm not scared about that, because some of the things that he held as like untouchable is the same thing I would say, even from a fear side, because I was talking about how anti-tax the biblical story is, right? But even from a fear side, I don't think Trump wants to give people the desperation power to change things, like, Social Security, like dealing with the old people, dealing with the infirm. He's not going to take that stuff away from them. You know what I mean? He's not
yeah,
trying to build a meritocracy where everybody has to prove their worth, because he knows how foolish that would be.
yeah. I mean, I agree with that. I think our president elect, he just like every public person, their face and there's what he does in private. And a lot of
Right.
people don't know that all through the 80s and 90s, Trump was known as a liberal Democrat.
He was very
Uh,
liberal. Yeah.
yeah. And honestly, a lot of his populist the first term were very democratic. I mean, Democrats used to be, possibly still are. I'm a Democrat. I was a Republican for a long time. I switched because of the gun nuts. I'm tired of fucking gun nuts. Everybody thinks gun. I live in a little suburban fucking town in Florida. I've never been in a situation that I couldn't just fight my way out of with my hands and my hands and my feet. You know what I
Now,
mean?
now
Like,
we're gonna get viewers. Now we're gonna get viewers. Now that you're anti-gun, that's cool. Like, this is awesome.
yeah, yeah. But I just, I mean, I just think, I just like, there's too
I,
many guns. There's too much.
there is too many guns. Nobody needs them. And by the way, the ones who are stockpiling them, and they're like, everybody's trying to come get them. Nobody's trying to come get them. Nobody knows you're there. Nobody cares. You know what I mean? Like, just just don't just shoot people, like, instead of shaking hands. Shake hands first.
Yeah, yeah.
It's
To
not
me,
what
it's
you
just
think.
barbaric. You want to walk around with the ability to take another person's life in your pocket. Like, what the fuck kind of barbarian does that? You know?
Man.
But
I think I
that's
grew
pretty
up
strong.
the people who actually I grew up with that are responsible or whatever. They also like really respect their guns. Here we
Mhm.
get back to venerations. They teach their kids. They lock them away. They teach them why it's so dangerous. They take their time, baby steps. It's not what they advertise. They advertise, like everybody should have a gun. That'll equalize it. No, that
Yeah.
won't equalize it. Um, the real, like they say, don't ever pull a gun if you're not ready to shoot.
Mm-mm.
Don't
Mm-mm.
ever
Ever.
pull a gun if you're not ready to shoot, because what's going to
Or get
happen is
arrested.
it'll be turned back on you.
Mhm.
It will be turned back on you by somebody who does not care.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't want to get too political, but yeah, that's why I switched was just the gun situation.
That's
I'm
interesting.
against weapons. I don't think any weapons should exist. I mean, we live in the modern age. You're supposed to solve things with your words, you
Mm,
know? Yeah. I mean, like I used to be the type of guy, that I would like pick fights all the time. I get my ass kicked. And
yeah.
I just decided, fuck it, I'm not going to be a barbarian anymore. I'm not going to pick fights with people.
Yeah, but you got your ass kicked, like, and you kept doing it. Like, are you
Yeah.
masochistic?
My brother beat the ever living shit out of me a couple times for
I
stepping to
know,
him.
but are you masochistic? Were you like offer, asking for it one more time, or I mean,
Mm-mm. I don't think it was
no,
that. I was just young and stupid,
yeah,
and I just didn't know. It. It's like people think of masculinity as being like aggressive or controlling. You know what I mean? Reasons for why I wanted to throw down, but it taught me not to pick fights, to
yeah.
get the ever loving shit kicked out of me a few times. And
The
I don't like
the
getting the shit
reason
kicked
for
out
you
of me.
throwing down, there were like pride issues or something like that. Like you
I don't
wanted
think it
to,
was pride because ever since I chose to leave Christianity, I've been gaining more pride. Now, when I used to get my ass kicked was back when I was a Christian, and congruity, my beliefs weren't congruous with my life.
okay,
So I would have all kinds of emotional problems, and the church
yeah,
teaches that
you have
wrong.
belief that it conflicts. So you have to act out at that point, I guess. You know what I mean? Because
And
you
just a
can't
lot of
justify
anger
those
and
conflicts.
but I conquered that. I'm not an angry person anymore.
Yeah,
Yeah. Really I think turned me from, the type of guy that was always trying to pick fights with people into somebody that doesn't is the fact that I converted and I started to practice magic, and if somebody pissed me off, I would reach out and touch them with magic, and that made me feel power. And I never did that much. I only ever did it when it was called for. But I can proudly say that it has been 3 months since my last time I cast a curse. And I didn't want to, forced to. But gaining that power with magic, not just to do offensive magic, but also to build things, to build relationships with spirits. And it was just so much fun to me that I started to feel powerful. And a lot of my anger in my early days came from a feeling of powerlessness. Once I gained some power, I used it wisely, and it turned me into a more reasonable person. You know what I mean?
do you keep a book, like notes of what you've done and what the results are, like a book of shadows or any
Very
sort of
seldom.
recipe book?
Very seldom.
Yeah.
Because
Oh,
long
I don't
time there
write
were a
anything
lot
down. I
of
write
witches who
sigils
were against
down.
me.
I'll keep sigils, but I won't write anything down that's long form or whatever. I tear it
Exactly.
up. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I thought that if I kept the grim, that it would be used against me, or it would be used against somebody that would be innocent and be attacked. Because a lot of witches fall into the trap of you get a little power, you curse somebody who's a dick, and then just fucking curse people. And
Oh,
it was
you
getting
got
to
to look for a new problem.
yeah,
You got
it
to
was
look
getting
for a
to the
new
point where
problematic individual to like crush or whatever.
Yeah. Well, you can
That's
do that.
bullshit.
Mostly when I curse somebody, and say mostly, I mean all the time, every time I've ever cast a curse, I do not put any specific thing to happen into the spell. I don't say like curse this motherfucker to die, or curse this motherfucker to get cancer, or curse this
Let his
motherfucker this
hand
way or
fall
that. I
off or
don't.
something like that. Yeah, yeah,
Never.
yeah. I
I
want his
just
hand
use
to
one
fall
word.
off. I want his eyeball to fall out. You're not doing that shit yet.
I just use one word in my curses. Word curse. That's it. The spell knows who needs to get cursed. The spell knows how bad they need to get cursed to learn their lesson. And I've had it described to me by somebody. I cursed the shit out of him, and then we became friends. So he told me what the curse was like, and he's just like fucking pins and needles all over your body and like popping orange lights and just extreme discomfort. And he told me, as soon as you cursed me, I dropped out of the witch fight and just laid down on my bed and I was in like 30 seconds. So it's a curse. It hurts. But what the purpose behind it is to just
It
get
was driving him to
whichever
come
witch it
and
is.
create a relationship with you,
Yeah. Yeah,
like
it's
to get
cool.
it
We're
out,
actually
to
good
clear
friends
it out.
now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
I met
Oh
him in
yeah.
California.
I'll tell anybody that's a business owner. I say, or a manager or whatever. I'm like, we're one fight away from being best friends. Watch. Wait till your people fuck up and I tell you, and you're like, thank you.
Yeah.
Wait. So
I get what you mean.
yeah, right on, right on.
Um, the thing that I do now, if I have a problem with another witch, is I just bewitch them. It's
Yeah.
just a nicer solution. The other thing that I like to do, really like to do, is if I'm having a problem with a witch, I'll conjure a leprechaun. And
Uh-huh.
leprechauns are motherfucking hysterical. They're so funny. And I just conjure a leprechaun. Tell the leprechaun, just go to the witch and just make them laugh until they stop being a dick.
Right.
It
Right.
works. And it's a nice solution. Sometimes you gotta be not nice, but I take the nice route every time. And when I send demons out, I always tell them, be nice about it. Even if we have to do something really gnarly, I tell them, be nice about it. And they always respect me saying that. They don't attack. They just bewitch and do fuckery. And I didn't like fighting. I mean, there's thrill that comes with battle. Spiritual battle is just any other kind of battle. I played football as a kid. That's a battle. That's a gladiator fucking battle. Same thrill, exact same thrill. When
Yeah.
you're in a gnarly witch fight, it's the same thrill. It's the thrill of battle. But you're weary. And the other thing is I listen to my spirit. So if my spirits say curse this motherfucker, I'll curse him. But if they say be nice to this person, I'll be nice to him. And yeah, I think it's actually been like almost 6 months now. I had to cast a curse at all, and I don't
Yeah.
do it unless it's absolutely necessary. I don't just curse willy nilly. That's one of the reasons why I only just use that one word in my curses. Just curse. That's it. Because
Right.
magic is a part of God, and God is perfect, and God knows everything. So the spell is a part of that. The spell participates in the full knowledge of God. Not to say that the spell is equal to God or greater than God. It's just magic is a part of God. Knows everything. So if you just put that very vague intention, curse, the spell will find who needs to be cursed, and it'll curse them as much as they need to get cursed to learn their lesson. But once they've learned their lesson, the curse goes away, and it lasts for more than a night. Ever. I've never seen a curse last more than a night. One that I've cast. Other people, unscrupulous witches, will curse you to do nasty things or act say things that you don't mean, or burn bridges with people that you love. They don't do that anymore because I was active as a cursor for 3 years. And honestly, I was in charge of what curses got put on who. And I learned to be very smart about it. You know, at the
Mm.
first when I first started cursing, um, I wouldn't use the word curse. I would use the word suffer. Just
Yeah.
and that was
Okay.
bad. Don't do that. Don't do that. because
Well, it sounds kind of open ended, you know. Yeah,
exactly, and
yeah.
that's the best with magic is to be vaguely specific. Yep.
Interesting, interesting. Yeah,
So,
I've always told people who are scared of black magic, well, don't worry, just be better at it. You know, don't
mhm,
worry, just be better at it. That's your defense. Um, but also, like as you said, it's supposed to, what you're sending is supposed to be tailored to, sort of the fuck ups. So
exactly.
if they're already writing their path, I guess they're already closer to getting this over with.
Exactly. It's just a spanking. It's like when a father disciplines their child. I have a 13-year-old son. I was born when I
Yeah,
was 19. And I've only ever had to discipline my son once ever. And I'm talking about he was young. He was like a baby.
yeah,
And he was acting out and he was old enough that, he knew to be a little, behave himself. And, I think he was like trying off the bed while I was like changing his clothes or something. I forget what set it off, but he did, I had to discipline him. All I did was just give him a little smack on the leg. And since then, I have never had to discipline him on anything. When I tell him to do stuff, he does it. When I tell him not to do stuff, he don't do it.
that's
And,
good.
I kind of regret that he was that young when I did that, but I didn't hurt him and it made him better, you know. And I'm very good at knowing when to quit when it comes to magic. One thing that you should know is magic will never be too gnarly. It's just gnarly enough to get the point across. But yeah, when I was engaged in a lot of witch fights, it was just a spanking. It was like your father giving you a spanking when you're a little kid, and that makes you better. I don't want to get too much into the specifics of curse fights because they're not going to happen anymore.
Right,
But
right.
what I was able to convince the witch world to do was to start using magic to construct things, to build other people up. One of the problems that I've faced in my magical practice is, my first branch of magic that I learned was vampirism, and I met some vampires who had intentions when they feed, and I actually got fed on by a vampire. Really hurt me by feeding, and I didn't know that was happened because the demons taught me that vampirism is always supposed done to make the target feel better and to make yourself feel better. Like when I feed somebody's dark energy, they feel this sense of like calm and relaxing, and it's like when night falls. If you're a girl, when night falls, like what happens? You get tired, you stretch out, you get relaxed, you go sleep. Unless you're like us and you're up all night. But it's kind of like that feeling when I feed because I always feed with good intention. Didn't even know you could hurt somebody with vampirism. I had been practicing vampirism for like 5 years before I ever met an unscrupulous vampire. And I don't know where that was going.
No, no,
But
no.
yeah,
It's because you wanted to get out of the witch fights and
mhm,
into that background, I suppose. That's what
exactly. Yeah,
you
that's it.
want.
That's it. And it wasn't until I was well into my magical practice that I even knew that people were harming each other with magic. And, you know, got really fucking powerful. And, I was able to actually bring the witch fights to an end. And now, all of the magical practitioners are, just basically trying to help the world out, and problems and, give people what they want and what they deserve. And yeah, I'm really proud of myself for being
Hey,
able to do that because I did it
big
almost
up to
single-handed.
the ones that are, they're plotting out like all the celestial bodies and everything to do it right. Big up to the mathematicians of the ceremonial magicians.
It's funny that you bring
I
that up
can't do
because yeah,
that shit.
it's funny that you bring that up because I've learned in my magical practice that if a spell is good, then the working will be easy and the spell will be powerful. But if a spell is bad, then man, you're going to be looking through star charts and flipping through grimoires and running through the world like a chicken with your head cut off, trying to cast that spell. And then once you do the spell off, it'll just be wimpy.
Right.
So,
Right.
yeah. But it's interesting
Well,
that you
yeah,
bring up like
okay,
all the
okay. Well, there's some merit to that because you know, you're talking about creating action, which is a positive motion, right? And so negativity is not really what we do. We don't
Mhm.
say, "Hey, you know what you need to do? Deny this from so and so." It's like inundate them with so much of this that they don't have time for that. You
Yeah.
don't really have a negative in that switch. You can feed in, you can turn on the hose, push a bunch of water that way, but you can't really reverse and deny what you want to deny. You just make it
Oh,
unavailable. You just make it unavailable.
yeah.
We all
Um,
run out of time at the end of the day.
yeah, like instead of I did find after I had cursed a few people that the solution was to just bewitch them to be nice. I mean,
Yeah,
honestly, you know. Another thing I found out, like, to one of the ways that one of the most
that's killing
common
with
ways that a
kindness right
person can
there. That's killing with
bewitch.
kindness.
Do what?
Kill them with kindness, bewitch them
Exactly,
to be nice. They
exactly.
don't have time for that negativity now.
And I won't shy away from the fact that I cursed fuckedly in all my witch fights. But when I was presented the idea of just bewitching them to be nice, I immediately jumped on it. I think Belial's words were, he said, Lucifer, uh, overwhelming force is not your friend.
Mm,
And I can hit people with some fucking overwhelming force with magic. But Belial told me that, and I respect Belial highly, so I took his word. And honestly, it brought the witch fights to a close much, much faster. I'd be out there fighting for like at least another 3 months if I hadn't taken Belial's advice. And
right,
as soon as I started, I didn't curse because I wanted to. I cursed because I was threatened,
right.
presented me a better option of how to retaliate, and it saved me a lot of bullshit. I'm not kidding. I mean, like, I got sent out to California to do this shit, and I was basically camped out there in the middle of summer in Southern California in the valley. And I think of how
Damn.
fucking hot that is.
And dry,
Everybody
yeah.
in Florida's like, "Oh, dry heat's not so bad." Bullshit, motherfucker. Dry heat sucks. You know what I mean? But
Yeah,
I would
well,
have had to
man,
stay out there
man.
for another 3 months, and if I had defied him. Some things I do not act on when Belial tells me, but that's he teaches me. What the fuck? Why are they? Whatever.
It sounds like your fire alarm or something.
Smoke alarm went off. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
maybe I should go outside again. I think I'm charged to keep this going for a while.
Well,
I'll
I
turn the
I
lights
don't, man. I mean, I gotta go. I think it's like 2:20 here, and
on.
I mean, no offense, but I'll be back in a day or so.
Oh, you're good. Yeah, they've all come to an end. Yeah, yeah, I had a good time, man.
Me too. Me
Time
too.
you want to do a stream together, just let me know.
Yeah, 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 yeah. Yeah, we got to talk more about the vampirism that you're looking at in the future.
Yeah, that's
We got to
true.
talk about that.
Yeah, we'll
All right.
save that for next time.
Yeah, we'll save it, man. We'll save the salacious bits. See you soon.
All right, my
Take
man. You have
care.
a good night.
Take care, everybody. Say goodbye if you have time. Nope, you don't. Bye.
All right,
See
bye.
you.